What are you doing down there? Get up there where you're supposed to be. Hey, stop it. Whatever. Whatever. Howdy, 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 everybody. How are y'all?
I've ever told you I'm a
Steve,
little brother.
Steve's being difficult.
No, I'm being a little brother.
Mm, well, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna call it difficult. You can call it what you want to.
It's my God
What's
given right
up?
as a little brother. That's what I'm
Yeah.
calling it.
Oh, alrighty then. Well, what's going on, everybody? Midnight Sun Works, Jack in the Shop, Ralph Stroessner, Chuck Peterson, Robbie Giglio, Victor, Chris in the land down under. What's up, Rich? How are you, sir? Jack Clayton, come. I'll mess that one up. We're just gonna leave that alone. Uh, Mark Patterson, Patrick, how are you, sir? Victor, Mark, a whole bunch of folks. We got like the regular. Oh, STL, how are you, Greg? Mike Thompson, Brian Smith. What's up, Brian? Got something for you tonight. There you go, sir. Mark L. Patty Wright, Cajun Woodworking, Roger Court. Ooh, I'm gonna need me some jambalaya. Cajun over there. Steve Smith, Al Wilkins, Rob Fight, Rob Patterson, Mark Patterson, Scott Sparrow, Nipa, David Allen. That's that guy with a really good name. S Free, too old to do this, which I think is not true. You're never too old. You may be slower, but you can still do it. Let's see. Woodworker Gene, how are you? Milk Money, what's up, Bill? How are you there? And Gord Rock, man, I owned that. My reading skills are on point tonight.
All right, all right.
Whew.
I gotta address this one.
Mm-mm.
There we go. Sorry, Dave. Got stuck with that name, and he's got to be a Brewers fan today.
Alrighty then. How are y'all? Everybody doing all right? I have been banging my head against the wall all day, learning, guys. I went down the rabbit hole that is a Mopa laser and trying to learn and adjust and understand things. Woo! A whole lot of variables. At first it was just speed and power. Then when I got into
Mhm.
fibers, it was speed, power, and frequency. And now that I'm into the Mopa, it's speed, power, frequency, and pulse rate. And woo, Lord. Uh, I'm trying to get an understanding of how they all coincide and work together to get the results. And I have burnt almost everything metal in this shop today, I think. So I got to go to my buddies tomorrow at the machine shop and source some more stainless and aluminum because I've been burning everything.
Yeah,
So, but I'm learning. I'm actually getting I'm starting to wrap my mind around it. And I had to create some files. I was kind of just hoping that when I got this machine out of the box, everything would be perfect because I played with it the first day and it done pretty good. But I found out that you got to do this stuff, and so I built some test cards and set all the timings and got everything to where it is OCD proof, and it's uh it's doing pretty well. It's doing pretty well. So, but yeah,
yeah.
coming along.
It's definitely something else with getting into fiber lasers, and like you say with Mopa, you're adding that fourth dimension. Fourth,
Yes.
um, yeah. Anytime you add a variable, it adds that multiply multiplier of possibilities, and it can get a bit frustrating. I've run in some speed tests on the LP5 for stainless steel, and getting a little frustrated with the randomness and variability without having the.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've done countless speed and power tests, and you can only sand stainless and get the results still like it still remembers it has been engraved before because you can see it in the engrave,
Mhm.
but you can only sand it so deep. Uh, I will say, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think aluminum is my favorite though. I figured out how to make the whites and the grays and all that with aluminum,
Hmm.
the blacks. So aluminum so far is my favorite. It's easy. Like the settings are a lot more forgiving. Uh, and then of course brass. I do like the way brass engraves with it, and it's actually engraved. It's not just marked. I mean, there is a substantial little lip right there.
Sure.
So now I think I about cut that one in half because I've tested it a couple times. But yeah, it's been fun. Uh, this is actually some of my CNC materials, but I was like, you know what? I can always
Yeah.
refinish it with the
Just
CNC. And
you
then
can
these are
layer
scraps
up.
from a CNC project. So it's been fun. It was an eye opening experience though when I realized that I had to when I got to playing around with it and trying to set everything. And uh, so I've got the different variations on cards and stuff like that. And I did a couple of images on cards. I still suck at those right now. Haven't found the sweet spot for my settings, but it's fun playing anyway.
Hmm.
But my trash people
Um,
are going to be like, "What is up with all these aluminum cards in this trash?"
just toss them in the recycle bin.
We don't have recycle bins around here, bro. I've got a recycle pile on top of the hill, but these things will wind up scattered all over the hillside.
Yeah. Well, guess that's one of the perks of living in the city, except for I can't burn my trash.
That's fixed to say. Oh.
So, well, Norbert's got a good question here. Um, what do we do when you get designer's block, wanting to be more
Mm,
creative, and it's just not coming to me? And no, this one's very real. Um,
yeah. Well,
so what do you do?
typically I just wait to see what the next order comes in is, and if it's something unusual, then it's like okay, content, something to
Yeah.
play with, something to do, and that's where like I've got a big job coming up for our local. Uh, it's like a regional Central Alabama barbecue cook off, whatever. I've got to CNC make the cutting boards and engrave them. And I've got the design laid out. I've done a miniature, like, you know what I mean? Where I used a piece of scrap wood and just did a miniature version of it.
Sure.
And so I've got the file laid out. But uh, that's the kind of stuff that comes in. That, or of course, you've seen my wife will be like, hey, I need this, or hey, I need that. So a lot of times she helps me when I'm in those little dry spells. But I got my hand in so much stuff that there's always something for me to do. It's just a lot of times it's not necessarily here in the shop because it's either with the bees or in the yard or wherever. So you never
Mhm.
know.
Um, yeah,
Is that deer?
it's nice to.
Woo. You hear that?
What
You
you
hear
got?
that thunder?
Yeah, I
It's
think ours is
vibrating.
passed, hopefully for the
It's
day. But
vibrating the whole building.
um, yeah, it's nice when you have people bringing you the inspiration of, hey, can you do this? So that's always nice. If you don't have that, uh, browsing. I like to in multiple ways. I mean, you can browse. Uh, join some Facebook groups around lasers. We've got the laser engraving community. It's a little over 2,000 people that share their questions, their ideas, and such. That's one way. You can also, browse online places like Etsy and such. It's a fine line between being inspired and just straight up copying something, I guess. But um, outside of that, going to craft stores, going to craft fairs and such, and there again, I'm not trying to find things that I want to copy per se, but hopefully to get an inspiration on something. But outside of that, also just putting yourself in a situation, giving yourself a theme or a challenge. So I haven't started on the edit on this yet. I was just a little too tired. But one thing I did is I was on a work trip this past week, second half this week, and I decided to extend it a day and go visit a state park that my dad and I camped at years ago, and I decided to do some off-grid lasering, and that the challenge to me was, okay, let's find some things that are camping related that maybe I can make. So I gave myself some parameters and had to start thinking around that. So I brought a few supplies, brought a few things. Unfortunately, had, as Clack just noticed, had some thunderstorm interrupt me. Well, I tried to. Was hearing some thunder rolling and checked the radar, and there was a little nasty cell just to the north of me. It looked like it was going to come and hit me. I was like, okay, well, I better pack some of the stuff away. So it took away some of my time on that. And then it didn't rain. And then it got stupid humid because it didn't rain, which kind of made for a rough night. But I did come up with a couple of fun projects, just giving myself some parameters. And so I'm going to hopefully have that video out here in the next couple of days. I'm still working through some stuff on some of the machine things I'm working on. So you get to see the results of that. But that was one way to inspire myself, was give myself a theme, not necessarily, or I mean, you could just give yourself a problem. Like, I need to make a wall mounted bread box. I don't know. Find someone who's going to give you a challenge and then start working around that. That can get the juices going, and who knows what you're going to make out of that. So, but yeah, designer's block is real, and you just got to start finding some inspiration, in whether it's looking at what other people are doing and trying to rebuild it, put your own spin on it, or find someone to give you a project, or just go look at what other people are doing. Hopefully that helps spark something in you.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, a lot of times I'll just walk through hardware store, Hobby Lobby, or Walmart or somewhere like that and see something
Yeah.
and like, wonder if I can engrave that.
Yeah. And
So
sometimes it's just even modifying what, I've gone to Michael's or Hobby Lobby and you find something, go, hey, that's cool. Maybe I'll just take that and modify it. Even just engraving on it. So
yeah, yeah, Rich, I was that laser has run pretty much nonstop all day. I actually sanded it down while I was doing another test grid on another piece of material. But I was afraid that if I did cleaning passes on it, that little bit of heat would change the result that I was getting. So that when I went to another piece of material, it would, because it seems to be very, very sensitive. If you ever hit that uh, metal with a laser, it seems to like remember it. And that was one of the things. Like, this is a piece that I did the other day. With I actually did some designing on it with one of the X tools, and I sanded it down and redone it, and you could still see residual like effects of the engraves below it. So it's but I got some pretty good. I got some pretty good color with it, and but you can still see the residual burns from before, even though I sanded them off to where you couldn't see them. So it's like I said, it's one of those things. I'm gonna have to go see my buddy that has the fabrication shop and pick through his scrap pile. I went up there here a while back and grabbed as much aluminum as I could like carry in one arm, and it only cost me like $10 because these are just like little off cut pieces that they don't use for nothing. So I'm gonna go see him and pick up some more different material. I know they also have like copper and brass and stuff like that as well. So I'm gonna see what I can score this week.
cool. Joseph's got a good idea too. Use AI prompts to get some ideas. I've actually seen other woodworkers do this. Well, they'll give it some prompts to kind of design a piece of furniture, and then they'll try to make it in real life. And the craziness with AI is it makes some things that are just physically impossible to replicate in the real world. But you could definitely get some inspiration from AI on a physical object. Or a lot of people have been having some good luck with taking the art and engraving it as well. So
All right, Sam's got a question, and I know you can relate to this question because you had that little bit of a stumbling stone along the way when you first got yours, and he's asking regarding the X70 Max, if the top of the honeycomb bed is not level with the enclosure, do you need to reposition the laser head? And I think what he's talking about is the machine, the frame of the machine, and you ran into that when you were setting up your Z axis as well. So would you like to share your experience on that?
well, yeah. So mine had to do with more of the autofocus not working, and so that can be one issue there. Definitely, you want to have your laser level with the honeycomb. So if your enclosure is not holding your honeycomb level to the same level as holding your laser, you are going to run into issues because your laser head, as it's going around the actual laser, it's going to be raising and lowering against that honeycomb. So you do want to make sure it is reasonably flat. I mean, any honeycomb will have a little bit of sag in it unless you solidly support it, and then you run the risk of not having the actual airflow and such. But yeah, it is important that they are level. Now, what I was running into specifically with my issue on the autofocus for the X70 was that the honeycomb was sitting on the same surface as the feet of the laser bed, and so there wasn't enough movement for the algorithm or the macro. It was looking for enough movement in dropping down and then raising back up. It was erroring out, and so once I blocked up the laser so that the feet were sitting level with the top of the honeycomb, then the autofocus was working, real well. So not having enough distance between them was also an issue, but also on any laser, you do want your gantry basically to be parallel with your bed, otherwise you will run into issues. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
try
he
to
meant like level, level. I think he meant like level 1, 2, 3. I think he meant they're on different planes.
well, it
That's what I
says if
got
it's
from
not
it.
level.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, he's
I
saying that if
think
it's not level with the enclosure,
yeah,
as opposed to being on a different level. So
yeah,
I tried to
I
answer
think
both.
yeah, I think what he was saying was that he's got his because surely, yeah, I mean, unless it's made out of like I don't know some tin or something really flimsy metal.
Well,
But yeah,
I
it
mean,
does.
take a look at any
Machine and
honeycomb.
the machine and the feet need to be on the same plane as the feet of the machine and the top of the honeycomb need to be on the same plane, like Steve said, because when you hit that autofocus button, if it doesn't travel as far as it thinks it needs to, it's going to throw an error and it won't work. My honeycombs are recessed in my enclosure, so I don't have that problem.
So yeah, you want to set that up to. They say I think 5 millimeters up. I would say hardly anything up from zero. Um, you want it to have that full travel, and then make sure the honeycomb is level with the feet of the bed, and then yes, that'll help out with your autofocus macro.
Did you get hit with the Microsoft bug this week?
The crowd strike, um, not really. Um, there there was a possibility of it affecting some of our Azure services, but luckily for us, it was nothing critical, and it was quickly resolved. So no, which was good because I was actually had a quarterly CIO meeting, all the college and universities with the state system. About 3 times a year, we get together at a college within the system, so it could be anywhere in the state of Minnesota, and that's how I was on the road. And of course, I leave one day and then wake up to this chaos while I'm off campus for 2 days. So yeah, I feel bad for all the people that did get hit hard with it.
Yeah, as far as I know, we didn't have any issues, which I don't. Nobody called me, but we have a company for that now.
I always wonder, because like one of my staff was commenting that Amazon was sending them like notices like, oh, due to technical difficulties, your packages could be late. I'm like, I think that in some cases people are just like, hey, here's a convenient reason to push them off
Yeah,
because we were slacking. You know,
yeah,
it's, I'm not saying that's the case very broadly, but I wouldn't doubt that a few places just used it as an excuse for poor service for a couple days.
yeah, yeah. Apparently, Sam saying that yeah, he was talking about they were on different levels, like they were.
Sure. Yeah, in any case, I mean, on any laser, it's great to have your honeycomb sit at the, have your laser sit at the plane. The top of the honeycomb is at the bottom of the laser. It's going to give you the most, z-axis movement
Yep.
possible, or have a way that you could even drop it and such. So, but in that one, it's particularly.
Yeah, because I know you were scratching your head going, why did
I
you?
was
Because I was
starting
like,
to
he's
get
like,
mad at it.
why is mine not working and yours is working perfect? And I'm like, I don't know. What did you
Oh,
do? And he showed me the setup, and I'm like, I think it's your honeycomb. because he had it set up on a basically just like what we would normally do. Uh, whereas I put mine in the enclosure, and so my honeycomb was recessed, and then so went back and spaced. I think you spaced it up with some lumber or something, didn't you? And it
Yeah,
worked perfect.
I blocked up the laser. See, the thing is, I have a few different sizes of honeycombs for these, and I like to find one where the laser will sit on the frame of the honeycomb, but that one is just a bit bigger and didn't have that scenario, so wanted to get it
Yeah.
tested quickly before and I still haven't built that darn enclosure. Um, because normally when I build the enclosure for it, I'll leave that tray, gives me that. But yeah, it was a head scratcher for a little bit and was making me a little frustrated.
Yeah. DJS is asking, what should max acceleration be set to? If your laser is rated at 24,000 millimeters, my Creatic 60 watt was set at 500. In machine settings for max acceleration at 24,000, it was very slow. I changed it to 2,000. A lot of that is I also change settings on machines sometimes, especially like with the atom stacks, because sometimes their homing speed is insanely slow. But just understand that there may be a reason for it. So you may speed it up, but then another problem may appear. Uh, so just be aware. I wouldn't go trying to max them out. If anything, like with the atom stacks, usually I'll slowly increase the speeds until, because especially like with your homing speed, if you increase it too much, if it doesn't have the right timing on the limit switches, you could cause a problem. And I mean, there's just gradually increase it until make sure there's not going to create any problems for you. But I think a lot of times they do that just to try to
And
keep the wear and tear on the machine down.
well, yeah, I mean, and they're you start running into like backlash issues and lost steps and such. So, as you've mentioned many times before, make a copy of your machine settings. The first thing you do when you power on your laser, put it in that safe folder,
Mm-hmm.
and that way you can do a revert if something starts acting up. But yeah, you're going to want to kind of rerun some of your tests, especially your, the concentric circle tests and square. Make sure things are still running running accurately. You're not getting any like vibration and wiggle in it. So you can play around with that a little bit. But yeah, I think they leave it a little conservative to help ensure uh, a
Yeah.
lack of those issues.
Yeah, I think a lot of times they do that so that their help desk doesn't get as many calls because they know that, yes, is it capable of doing it? Yes, but it may not be 100% accurate at those speeds, and so
Well,
they bring it down just to be sure.
and that's the thing when you start seeing these like really ridiculously. I mean, what was it? I think on the 8s or L2, they were talking something like 54,000 millimeters a minute speeds, and
Yeah,
in the 400 millimeter working area of those machines with the acceleration, I'm like, you're not hitting those speeds.
yeah.
So
And if you do, you're not marking nothing.
yeah, at some point while it's probably technically possible of those, you're rarely hitting those speeds. So I think they can focus on other things than trying to be the fastest gantry driven machine out there. So,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's just like today when I was setting the timing on this the Monport. They advertise speeds of like 10,000 millimeters a second for this fiber, and I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to be trying to mark at 10,000 millimeters a second.
yeah.
So I did all my testing at like 4,000 because I'm like, realistically speaking, that's probably as fast as I'll be doing any kind of engraving. And so as long as the timings are correct there, I'm good. But yeah, because I was looking at I had the specifications pulled up, and it was like 10,000 millimeters a second, and I'm like, no,
hmm
I don't
And
see me going that fast with a fiber.
and generally on the gantry machines, that speed's only like the x-axis. The y-axis is usually a lot slower with the you know
Yeah,
moving on the whole gantry versus just the head. Um, and yeah, the max speeds versus your typical working speeds. There's very few things that are going to be able to engrave effectively at those top speeds and low power. So
Yep.
it's a thing that's out there, but
Wow, that's a big comment, Steve. It covers you up.
hello over here.
North, North Alabama says, I'm trying to understand absolute coordinates. How can you tell me what absolute coordinates your head is if you're using the honeycomb? Part two, what is better to use with a grid, bird board? Uh, Absolute coordinates basically, in order to run absolute coordinates, you have to either have the machine that is capable of homing itself.
Hearing that.
Yeah. Welcome to Bama, baby. You have to have a machine that is capable of homing itself, or either you have to physically home the machine by hand when you first start it. And as long as you stay away from the edges, it'll work fine from there. Most all the machines now, even the cheaper ones, are coming with limit switches. So, but basically 0 0 is going to either be the back left corner, front right, left corner, front right, wherever you've assigned it or the machine is constructed for it to be. Typically, with most of them now, you're seeing the back left corner for like the atom stack. Well, no, front left corner for the atom stacks, the rollies, the tours, and stuff like that. They're all going to be front left corner. And then once the machine knows where it is and it knows the size of the work area, it can just navigate through there. There are times where current position is kind of nice when you, especially if you've got something and you want to engrave in a certain spot, you can kind of move the head to where it is, line it up, frame it and send it, and you don't have to worry about collisions with other things. Let's say if you had a bowl, for instance, or a tray that had an edge on it, you could, in theory, with current position, put the tray under the laser head, just do current position, and it would engrave, and it would not go outside of that area where if you were running absolute coordinates, when it gets through with the design, or it has to traverse, through an area where it can't go. But I run absolute on most everything, except for those, like I said, those occasional jobs where I don't want it traveling, because if it's something that's not an even surface and the laser is going to collide with it, you may have to run current position to avoid collision. But
So yeah, I mean, basically, you either need to have for using absolute coordinates, you either need to have a jig that is fixed to, I guess it'd actually be a fixture that is tied to something on your laser for repeatable orientation. You need a honeycomb like the Lasermatic that keys itself in so that the corner is 0 0. Even with that, though, unless you're putting your piece into that corner, there's no grid lines throughout the whole thing. So you would need to know that way. Or what I've done is if I'm just engraving something, I will then also make a spoil board that is fixed to the feet somehow. And then I'll do out a grid, and sometimes I'll put in common shapes like a 4-inch square and a 4-inch circle for those. And then you know where those are at in your grid, and you can set up your file then to know that, okay, if I go to, coordinate 100, 100, that's, the center of this tile, and then it'll work. But it kind of has to go hand in hand with some sort of fixture that allows you to place your items in that exact point. So if you don't have a way to do that, it's still useful in the fact that you can home and repeat things, but then you need to do a temporary jig. So
yeah, I jig most everything. And if I don't do a jig, like you said, I'll throw a piece of scrap material in there and just do a quick line of a shape and then line it up with that shape, so that now I have a common thread between my virtual work area and my physical work area. I now have that marker that says, okay, this is where it is in the virtual work area on the computer, and here is where it's actually at in the physical space. And that way I could just set that thing right on that line and confidently know it's going to be exactly where it needs to be. Cameras are good, but no substitution for framing or jigs.
Yep.
Cameras to me are best suited for, like earlier, I needed to make a box and I had a piece of scrap material, and I was trying to recycle some material. You know, 1 millimeter accuracy is all I need to be able to drop my shape in those little pockets and lay that out to where I can take a 36-inch piece of wood and just drop 2-inch squares all over it and cut them out. But if it was a job, something I was trying to engrave, I would definitely go with that physical virtual tie together, whether it be a jig or whether it be a, like you said, just a score line to use for alignment. So, but yeah, that's
So here's a question: is that a Space Invaders game over my right shoulder? Actually, no. That is a RetroPie arcade that I built with some of my sons early COVID. I can actually turn it on. You can see it light up here real quick. I can turn that a little bit.
yeah. Look at you. You might be a nerd.
But it's got a Raspberry Pi in there, and it's got an emulator for various arcade, Atari, and a few other games that I, of course, have the legal rights to use all of those. I'm in no way stealing them. Um, but yeah, it's got some joystick controllers, buttons on there. It even has plug-in for USB controllers. So it's kind of a fun project. I mix my CNC and my electronics and other skills with it. So
Yeah. Somebody saying, Clack, I need to know how to make a stove cover to cover an older style electric round element style stove top, and also for the gas stove tops it raises it off the elements and burners. Any help? Uh, yeah, if you got one of the older ones, and it's especially because those things you don't want the weight sitting on the eyes because it can wear them out. So what I usually do is there's going to be a gap in between the eyes, and there's going to be a gaps on the side, and a lot of times it's going to be like a downward dish. You can measure that and go under the bottom and add some strips, maybe 1.5 inch wide, inch wide, pre-drill everything, and it'll also help like keep it centered when you set it in there. But most of the ones nowadays are glass tops, so ones that a lot of them now. Some of them are gas. The folks with the gas ones seem to be the ones that want the covers the most because those gas, the little eyes or whatever get to looking nasty after a while because you can't really get them clean unless you clean them every single day. Uh, well, extreme elements. I'm hoping that the AMS works pretty good. Mine is supposed to be here Wednesday. I thought it was going to be here this weekend, but unfortunately for me, it was just basically all of my accessories and filaments and stuff. So I've got one coming. It's going to be the, what is it, A1C? And I'm thinking that's probably what Steve's over there tussling with. Oh, yeah, there's his. You ain't got that put together yet, procrastinator? My problem is I'm having to rearrange my living room because, guys, I'm out of room out here, and I don't think 3D printers would do well out here with the dust and stuff. So I usually keep that inside the house, and I'm probably going to end up having to make or purchase an extra piece of furniture to have a place to sit it in my living room because all of our rooms are full. We have no more room.
a lot of people grab some of those IKEA shelves. I forget what there's a couple that people like to use, but no, this showed up literally half hour before I left.
Yeah.
UPS and FedEx had a little bit of a fight over dropping some things off, like as I'm trying to leave for this work trip. So I wanted to make sure I got it secured and then in the house and not leave it for my family to deal with. But yeah, I got back yesterday midday and I've been tired and then trying to wrap up some LP5 stuff. So I've wanted to pull it out of the box. I hope to in the next day or two. But
Yeah.
like, if I do, then the other, I'll be playing with this and I won't be getting the other thing done. So
Yeah.
it's kind of it's the carrot to get my other projects done.
Corey's got a question. What would be your suggestion for beginner's progression in buying machines? Diode laser, 3D printer, CNC for wood, fiber laser, plasma table. Yeah, it's a big rabbit
Yes,
hole.
all of them.
But now I will put it to you this way. First big consideration, where you're going to put it. Because, you wouldn't want to put a plasma table in your living room. You wouldn't necessarily want to put a plasma table in a
Depends on if you're married or not.
in a really really small wood workshop, because you're going to have flame and particulates that are on fire flying around in an area that is covered with saw shavings and sawdust. So that's something you need to consider. Plasma tables, I think those have their place in a metalworking shop because there's no flammable dust or materials there. uh so but as far as the CNCs are loud. They do generate dust, and they're generally heavy for the most part if you get a bigger one. Uh, Lasers, you've got the consideration of how are you going to vent it, where you put it. You can get a laser as small or as big as you want. So I mean, space is really not an issue with lasers. Ventilation is going to be the biggest issue I see people having with lasers, is how do I ventilate it because I've got it here or I've got it here. Uh, 3D printers, 3D printers don't have to be ventilated. They don't take up a whole lot of room. They're very cool as far as making things and making practical use things. The only problem with that is you're going to need to keep it, in my opinion, in an environment where it's not like really really hot, really really cold, or really really dusty. So I think 3D printers are really suitable for that extra bedroom or that corner of your living room, which is what I do. Because I've got a corner of the living room where my computer desk is, and I just got like a file cabinet where my 3D printer sits. So just try to figure out where you are going to accommodate it and what kind of uses you could have. Because all three, CNCs, lasers, or 3D printers, are really really cool because you can make. Now 3D printers are cool because you can make like three-dimensional objects a lot easier than trying to design it in with a laser, because lasers you're limited to squares and perpendicular cuts and that kind of thing, whereas with a 3D printer you can make round
Make
oblong
round things
objects
with
or
a laser.
whatever. Round on one axis, but it's going to be square on the other.
I yeah, no, uh it really good. I guess it depends on what you're really into. If you're just wanting to play and learn some things, um 3D printers the newer ones, especially the bamboo, Prusa. A lot of these recent ones are much easier to learn with. They've lowered the learning curve on it, but I think it's harder to design in 3D to make your files for it. That's a bigger learning curve. You can
Yeah.
always, I mean, there's a ton of things you can download and print that other people create, and then you can try to modify it. Um, but you're also kind of limited to, um, I shouldn't say limited. Um, I think a lot of people get them and they print out little tchotchkes and whatnot. Um, if you want it to be more functional, you definitely have to kind of get outside of, PLA can do a lot for prototyping and such, but it's got its limitations to its structural parts. It's not something you want to make a part for your car and have it sit out in the sun. You don't want to be adding a lot of torque to it, things like that. Um, but it's fairly inexpensive. It's fairly easy to, set it, forget it. There's still some concerns and some safety things around smells, and certain things can. I mean, there have been some fires started by 3D printers as well, and none of these machines should be completely out of sight, out of mind, kind of stuff. I think for the most flexibility, combined with the easiest learning curve, might be a diode laser. Um, because you can make a lot of functional things with it. You can make a lot of artistic things with it. You can engrave things with it. You can work with a lot of different materials with it. Um, CNCs are really cool. They add a whole nother dimension, but now you're worrying about, like you said, you're worrying about dust collection. You're worrying about material. You can't just magnet it down or tape it down. In most cases, you're having better. If you screw up your material holding, things are going to fly. Things are going to be bad. You're going to break bits. You got to learn feeds and speeds. It's not just if the power doesn't work, it's, you know, it's too hot or
Yeah.
too weak. You might be breaking a bit, or you're damaging some other things. There's just a little bit more of a learning curve to them and such, but they all have their
The
place.
Yeah, lasers is probably, as far as ease of learning and ease of use for somebody that's brand new. Yeah, lasers are much easier, I think, because
Yeah,
you're designing in 2D, which is
yeah,
basically like a drawing.
yep.
So yeah, and that, if you once you get into that though, you're probably going to get bit, and then you're going to find yourself, going down all these different rabbit holes of the different lasers, and then you're going to want a 3D printer to make parts for the lasers, and then you're going to want a CNC to make parts. It's a big rabbit hole. Oh,
Hmm.
and I have been thoroughly sucked into that rabbit hole because I would love to have a plasma table, but I would burn my shop down.
I,
So I
I
can't
I'd
I can't
love,
have that. If I was gonna have a plasma table, it would be like I got this other little shop over here that is nothing but a slab, and it is fireproof, and it's got,
yeah.
fireproof gypsum panels or whatever. I'm too scared of burning my shop down to have a plasma table in here. Like there's no room, first of all,
I,
and that's just a recipe for disaster.
well, yeah, and metalworking is one of those things where I want to have the access to it, but it's always tangential. It's like I need to add that, it's like I want to weld up or fabricate some legs for a table or I'm not, it's not my primary medium, and it's cheaper to buy
Yeah.
wood than metal. So
Well, and if you're trying to do
it's
it
one
as a
of,
side hustle too, it's a lot easier with, like, there's a lot more frequency for laser products than there is plasma cut products.
I mean, it depends on your market, because I know some places, some people are cutting out those big metal bench signs,
Yeah.
outdoor signs, and they're, you know, some of those. It's much like these. You get a style, you get a sign, and it's just changing the wording, and there people pay quite a bit for that. They put a lot more value into, you know steel than Luan plywood. So
Well, that's true, but my buddy who bought he owns a welding and fabrication shop, and he was doing those. And he told me it's feast or famine. You'll have
mhm.
people wanting them to where you can't sell enough of
Oh
them, and then you may go 6 months and not sell nothing off that
yeah,
machine.
like I
So
said, I mean it's
if you're using it to fabricate things, like build, like he was building like these rocket stoves and stuff like that. He would cut all the pieces out on the plasma table and then weld them together, and just weld the seams up and stuff like that. If you're into fabrication as well as just making signs, you could probably sustain it. But if you're just making signs, you're gonna have a really good marketing, because
I mean
like I said,
I
I
think
sold
that's
I sold quite a few for him, because people would call me and be like, "Hey, can you do this?" And I'm like, "No, but my buddy can," and I send them to him, and he made quite a few. But just the other day, I was told that he's getting out of the machine business because it's, the tips, and apparently you have to replace the tips ever so often,
mhm.
like regularly, and there's a lot of expendables that he wasn't aware of too.
but that's true for any of us. I mean, if you're going to have a
Yeah.
hot item, and that's great, but you better be figuring out what's next, because A, people are going to buy it up and now you've saturated your market, or B, someone else is going to go, hey, I can do that too for $5 less.
Yeah.
And so you need to be constantly evolving and having, like you say, you're making signs, but you're also fabricating things. I mean, you don't have one stream of income for the Clack Shack
Oh
by
no.
any means, right? So
No,
so
no, it
that
looks like a
that
spider web.
yeah, that's true for anyone that's trying to do this and
Yeah.
actually, sustain themselves on it and such. Um, but
Yeah.
no, for me, it's one of those things where, yeah, I would like to have access to one, but it's not it's not something that I see. I mean, it's even like the fiber lasers. I don't have a justification for um putting. I just don't. I haven't branched out into that yet, and so I don't have the
Yeah.
business need for one right now. Um, it'd be great to have one, but I can't justify the business expense to get the one that I'd really like to play with right now. And if I'm not, well versing myself in those, it's going to be hard for me to like say, hey, why doesn't someone send me a 100-watt Mopa, fiber laser to play with? Because
Yeah. Well, my thing
everyone will
is,
love my content on it.
Yeah, my thing is now that I'm actually, because the 20, me and you both have had the 20-watt fibers, and they're, like I said, you can do stuff with them. But I've never really wanted to go after a market that required a fiber laser. But as I move into the 30s and potentially into the 60s and 100-watt ones, I'm like, you know what? They're maybe with the 30, maybe I could feel it out and see what kind of a market there is around me. Because I can do stuff with a 30-watt Mopa. It may take longer, but while I'm waiting on that, I can be running that guy or this guy or that guy or this guy. So I think I'm fixing to actually start using it more for, you know, sales and services. And I found a market today that exists and has existed for a while, but I've never messed with. And there you go. And who better to get this exposure? Because I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that's ever worked in law enforcement knows there is one piece of equipment that if you can keep it more than 2 or 3 years in law enforcement, you're doing a really good job. That's handcuffs. Because people at these detention facilities tend to take yours, exchange them for somebody else's, or keep them, and then you have to go back and get them, and you never know if it's actually yours. So you wind up with a perfect set of handcuffs, and then you go back to pick them up at the jail, and you get a pair that won't hardly close because somebody has bent them. So being able to differentiate yours from somebody else's is a pretty big deal. So that's what I wound up coming up with today, just to check the machine once I dialed in the settings. But I'm going to start getting into other stuff as well.
You're going to engrave stolen from Clack on a pair of handcuffs that you're slapping on someone.
Yeah, hey, I actually have a new market, and I'm gonna show you this. But you can't steal my ideas, Steve.
Oh, hold on. Let me get my notepad.
This is my bag of stuff I haven't done a video with yet, but I've got it
Pen.
ready.
Need my pen so I can steal this.
So hey, you may try. Let's see what I got. Where they at? Right here. Right here. Oh yeah.
I'm going to write in white marker on white paper. What you got?
All right. All right. See, these are actually intended to be bracelets, right? These are anodized aluminum. They're made to be bracelets. But you know what else you can use them for?
Really expensive popsicle sticks?
No.
You
If
could.
you have an orchard, you can actually engrave these with a number for that particular tree in your orchard, and bend it and make it like a loop that would go around the limb, so that, you know, if you track those things, you can keep up with this. I didn't know that was a real thing until somebody asked me about it. But apparently, wineries and there's all kinds of places that need to track trees and bushes and stuff. And so I'm going to use these to come up with some way of doing that. You can just mark like, even if it ain't nothing but the row, like that row needs to be, you know, this is a designator for this row, that row, this row, that row. But yeah, I saw those, and it was an impulse buy on Amazon. But I got a bunch of colors.
Cool.
Got all kinds of colors. So, oh, and you can also, without bending them, make them into like garden stakes. You don't have to bend them. You just engrave them and stick them in the dirt.
See, and here I'm having flashbacks to the 80s and 90s when they had those slap bracelets, you know, that people were cutting themselves with. Basically spring steel curled just right. And
no, these are anodized aluminum, and I've tried bending a couple of them.
I know. I'm just talking. I'm aging myself here with those things that I used to have.
But I've got other things in here too.
So random. This is completely random, but I'm not going to get this to show up very well. But if you're looking for a really nice marker for the shop, a place called Pen Company of America, they make these things. They call them Rev Marks. They're industrial. They're like industrial Sharpies, and they have multiple colors. They got red, white, blue, black. I like the white ones for a number of things, but they're made in the USA, and they have this cool clip that actually slides down into your pocket. So this kind of sits on the outside. These are some really nice markers, and I don't have an affiliate link for them at all. Just look for Pen Company of America. Really cool company. I like their markers. Just figured I'd throw that out there.
I'll just say, is this where we insert the brought to you by?
No, I bought them a number of years ago, and they're still going strong because I bought a few of them. But good company and nice markers.
Am I wrong for having Sharpies?
I mean, you're not right.
This is but this is this is the Sharpie Pro.
Revmark, made in the USA.
I don't know where these are made. You get them at Walmart.
No, part of this was I was looking for a good white permanent marker, and they had them. So,
Yeah.
but anyway,
too old to do this. Says he's new to lasers. Got the S1 today. Installed the conveyor. I went to new project and wanted to change it from base plate to conveyor. There was no convey. Do you have that, or have you ever used that? I don't have that.
I don't have that for the S1, and I haven't installed the one for the P2 yet. Are you? Some of these things you got to power it down and power it back on. You know, they don't want you to hot swap those plugs, and so that conveyor I think needs to get plugged in. I don't remember if that uses like the aviation plug or if it's just a USB thing.
If it goes into the S1, it's got to use that little weird USB pull plug they've got, because I don't think there's any other plugs on it nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like almost a micro USB, but not quite.
Yeah, I mean, I would first try power cycling the laser, make sure that it boots up and sees it there. That might be the issue, but I haven't. Unfortunately, I don't really.
Yeah,
have the
extreme
space
saying the same thing, that it needs to be cold inserted.
Okay.
So yeah, no hot swap on that guy.
Yeah, the conveyors are. It's one of those things that I just don't have the space to dedicate it in my setup for the lasers, so it's hard to test that out.
There you go, Tim. Yeah,
I'm just carrying them on my shoulders, man.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Any questions? Yeah, Michael says Steve has way too much time. I think that was back during the.
That is so not the case.
Yeah.
I
no,
actually
Mark.
Looking.
Nope. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was looking. One of my staff members sent me a request today saying, "Hey, I need to take a couple days off this week. Is that going to be a problem?" I said, "No, but I'm going to be looking for a couple of days myself off the next few weeks to try to get caught up on things here." So,
yeah, Mark. No, anytime I have any kind of issues with machines not homing consistently, that's when I go back up to controller settings and I go in there and change the fast home, slow home speeds and find that sweet spot, or adjust the bounce off in the software. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but most of the machines that I've been getting in lately home relatively consistent. And then once I home the first time, if I'm doing a batch job, I don't rehome. I use a park location and go from there. That way I don't have to worry about it. I know it's going to go exactly where it was the last set that I ran.
Fred's asking, with tumblers, how do I compensate for the taper? They have a We Create 20-watt vision. Unfortunately, that's right, because you can't use the chuck with Lightbird on that one. You
Apparently,
found that out on the.
I can't.
You can't. Well, I said you can't.
I can't. If somebody's figured it out, let me know, because I spent about 30 minutes trying to get it to work and just said, you know what? Never mind.
Yeah. So
there's a scientific formula for it. You have to skew your image, and it's a lot of math, and y'all know I don't do math.
Yeah. There are
formula or
there
something.
Are ways to you got to take the two diameters and the angle and the length of the tumbler, and you have to do the calculation on it, and then that'll help get a distortion free, so round things look round. I was trying to find, because I know a couple people have done decent videos on that, but You got to find a slightly older one because most people are then using. Well, if you have, can you export that? No, you can't export that from Lightburn, can you? Where it's got the calculator.
If you did taper correction, it
Yeah,
modifies the actual image, I think. And so once after it modified the image, maybe you could then. I don't know. Haven't tried that.
yeah. I mean that would be a little bit easier um, to
Mm,
do. Otherwise, yeah, if you search for calculating the taper offset for engraving tumblers, you'll find a few videos. There's also some uh, pages that will give you some information on trying to run those calculations. Um, it's a little bit of a trial and error on that to kind of figure out what looks best for that. Because even the calculation will get you close. So I don't have a good answer off the top for that. You could also, you know, bug we create to figure out their rotary in Lightburn, and then you could just use that. But
100 bottom diameter. I'm gonna really aggravate this.
here, let's see if I can
So
get bigger for you.
so if I did, let's say top diameter is 100, and we'll set the bottom as 50. Uh, so yeah, it's skewing the image. So if I then go there,
And export as an SVG.
export as an SVG. All right. Oh, Inception. Let's see. We create. I don't have a machine to connect to it. It got stolen.
I'm telling you should have called the authorities.
Yeah,
So I
but I
know
think they'll still let me do it.
you might not have Lightburn, but they do have a 30-day trial, and you could test out this feature, export it, and see if it works for you. And if you're going to do tumblers a lot
Yeah, it
with
warped
your
it coming in.
recreate, yeah, you might find it's worth the $60 to grab it for
So
this and playing around with.
so yeah, it did warp it. So that should accommodate. If you do need to do it, that should work. Now I'd have to have the machine here to test it, but from what I'm looking at, it spread it out. And if the math is correct over here, which I mean that tool's pretty handy, and it should be. So yeah, that should work, and it would work for XCS as well. So that's cool.
I think XCS is built in the
Did
correction
they
as well
did they did
now.
they add one? I hadn't tried it
I
lately.
think so. Yeah, they
I
even have.
usually don't have to worry about that because most of the time the type of tumblers I use don't have that much of a taper.
In one of the latest, of course, they still have it labeled as beta. They're 2.0. They must be taking
Yeah,
some ideas from the gaming world, but just keep their software in beta, then that can excuse bugs, right? Um,
yeah,
they've incorporated a kerf offset now as well in XCS, which is nice to see. So it's nice to see, and I know we create. They continue to develop their make it software as well. So hopefully over time they'll add that. But yeah, even if you're using a We Create or an Xtool machine, Lightburn at $60 may be a solution to export files into your software to be able to use them as well. So um, kind of something I might want to look at. And they have um, their free preview is uh, full functioning for 30 days. So you can try it out, see if it's going to work for you, and
yeah,
maybe that one job will pay for it. So
yeah. Dana, no, I didn't do a whole lot of anything with that Momport 40 watt except for acrylic because that was about all I could fit in it. Uh, and I had a bunch of settings wrote down because I had it prior to the library function, and I think I just deleted all that because every time I would upgrade something, it would change. Because when I put the new nozzle on there and everything, it changed.
um,
Industrial Sharpie.
it's when the markers can garner more money from us because they're industrial.
Hey, now I will tell you for a fact that this is not the same as this. This guy right here, you would not want to use this in a small room for extended periods
Oh,
of
I've
time.
had some of those. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
because
VOCs on those.
this
Yeah.
guy's like, oh, I mean,
Yep.
I mean, you can tell it's there. It's not that bad. This thing right here will give
You've
you a
built up a
headache.
tolerance, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I
Yeah.
really the
Now
only
we're
time,
just sniffing markers. I don't know.
yeah, like this one right here is stout. Like you can write on something and it will
Uh-huh.
smell a room up.
Well, you can write
But
on some
it
things
makes
with
a
that one,
really
and
good
it'll
line.
disintegrate them.
Yeah. They can be for personal use, I guess, Brian, but not mine. I think I done put them back in the truck. Yeah, I put them back in my work truck. Those are my two extra pair for the most part. I keep two on my belt that I sometimes wear, sometimes don't because I'm office jockey now. But I have a total of like 6 sets in the truck because you never know. It sucks to get somewhere and need extras.
Mm. Yeah, Dennis is saying he likes the Bamboo A1 Mini. They've had it on sale for recently for $199. Has to be the best entry level 3D printer. I, I picked one up. What three, four? Maybe I've had it a month now.
Something like that.
Have been playing around with it, and yeah, I am very impressed with it. This little Creality Ender 2 Pro is basically a lampstand right now. But yeah, I plan on, and so then I've got the regular A1 with the AMS. So I'm gonna break that out this next week, play around with it a little bit, and kind of do an initial overview of how getting them set up and using them as a beginner. I think definitely if I was going to recommend someone wanting to play around with a 3D printer, this one has quickly risen to the top of my list, especially at that price and the ease of their software. So
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. I don't sniff Sharpies. I was just testing it to show you.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right, I'm trying to figure out. What's up, Cody? How are you, sir? I throwed you up on the board a while ago, but Steve was talking about printers, so I didn't want to interrupt him.
What's stopping you?
Oh, I try to be nice. I know it's a novel idea, but I try it every now and then.
Well, the people don't know this, but on our dashboard it gives us like percentage of time, talking one or the other. So we try to balance it out as much as possible.
It's got like a little counter. It comes up.
A little graph, yeah. No.
Yeah.
I know both of us. We get on certain topics. We can be a bit wordy.
Oh, yeah. Well, we like to explain things, and I guess that's why we started YouTube channels. That way we can explain things to people. James says his D1 Pro 20 watts currently down. I think the motherboard is bad. Thinking about getting the Atom Stack A40. Is that about the same as the X40 you have in your enclosure Zilla? That if it's the extended machine, usually what Atom Stack does, it's going to depend on whether you go to .net or .com. I don't know why they do it. Me and Steve have had this discussion, but it's the same machines 99% of the time. Occasionally, there may be some color differences. One may be black, one may be silver, but typically speaking, mechanically, it's the same machine. And I'm pretty sure that's the case with the A40 too, isn't it?
Black, silver, and then they have their like dark purple blue color. So if you get parts from a few different ones, you get a whole clown car of an Atom Stack that all works together. But yeah, there's atomstack.com versus atomstack.net. They are similar but different. I think they're technically run by different people, but they are so far. You can kind of compare apples to apples as far as A40 versus X40. So,
Yeah.
But I say that just you never know. They'll throw us a curveball. So never hurts to compare each site. Maybe there's one that has a discount code that the other one doesn't. I've had good luck from both as far as the machines they've actually sent me and the communication, but I couldn't tell you the differences behind the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't I haven't had to deal with Adam Stack's customer support. And that's what people ask me. How is your customer support? I'm like, I don't know. I've had 6 of them, and so far I haven't had one go down. So I haven't had to call them. I guess I could just call them up for the heck of it, see if they return my call. But but yeah. Well, STL Greg, I should be getting the A1 like Wednesday, and so depending on how the company, decide to go with it, there may be more to come. I don't know, but I feel like the A1C or the A1 combo is definitely going to be a step up from my Ender.
Oh yeah.
Even though I have done everything I can do to the Ender, uh, it never fails that if I let it sit for a month or two and don't use it, I have to reset everything, rerun my calibrations, and you have to, like, if it's cool in the living room and the air conditioner's working appropriately, you have to make sure you close the enclosure a little bit. If it's hot in there, you got to make sure you got it open. It has taught me the fundamentals, but it does get a little frustrating when you just want to go in there and print something out real quick and be done with it. You have to do all those tests and stuff. And seeing some of these guys that have the new machines that don't have those problems, it's kind of made me go, wouldn't mind having one. So I shall have one soon.
So I originally bought the. I had been looking at the X1C for a while, but the price tag versus what I needed it for was kind of like, I can do without it. Then they came out
Ouch.
at some point. They came out with the P1 series, which is kind of the mid grade, and I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. But when I saw the A1 Mini at basically $200, I was like, all right, I knew I'd have friends who would be interested in it if I found like, it's nothing doing anything for me. That was kind of a no brainer for you basically have about a 4-inch cube working area on that thing, maybe a touch bigger. You can do a lot with that as far as the things we do, as far as making, jigs and parts and things like that. The larger working area is great, but as on a lot of these machines, you're going to find yourself using, 25% of it most of the time. And the fact that it's an open machine that, it's going to limit you on a little bit of what they officially support as far as filaments. So if you're looking at more structural things, getting into ABS and others, you might want to go to their enclosed machines and such. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked with the A1 Mini. I'm excited to play with this one, and I may find myself growing, whether it's my own money or if they're really happy with what I'm doing and they want to help me out with one of their the P1 series. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I've got a buddy of mine that's already willing to take the Ender off my hands. He was going to come get it last night when I showed him a picture of the bamboo box, but then I realized it was nothing but filament, and I told him to stand down until, because I gotta have it in case I need to whip up a little part or something. Because I can do it with the Ender. It's just like I said, I've been watching the videos of the Bamboo Labs, and it just seems like it's a lot less user input to make it work and work right.
Mhm.
So that's going to be good.
Yeah, Russ, I actually printed out most of the parts to a Saturn V rocket on my Ender 3 Pro. And they came out okay, but I had to like paint all the parts, and that's where things kind of went south. Just my painting skills on PLA was not up to snuff. So yeah, I know they have like a small Saturn V engine rocket that I'm excited to print out as well. So because the geeky NASA space stuff. But that's some of the fun is they have their file sharing stuff built right into their software. So
Yeah, and the fact that it came with like the A1 it comes with basically everything you need for that combo that we both got coming. Or you've got yours. I hadn't got mine yet.
yeah, I'm actually hoping
I don't know if the AMS. I'm gonna have to come up with a bigger area to set it, because
Yeah.
that's the EMS is going to push it to be slightly more of a footprint than my Ender has.
Well,
So we'll see.
mine may replace my Ender 2 Pro, but I'm gonna have to move this stuff, and so it might sit there. Otherwise, I do have another shelf, a wire shelf back over here that you can't see out of frame. That I just need to see how much space it's going to take up, because I actually
Well,
have my
see,
filament shelf above that too. So
we can't all have 3 rooms to work in, Steve. I
I
mean,
I mean you can.
no. I got kids that live in the rooms that I have extra. So
Make them share a room. It'll get them to move out faster.
yeah, yeah, and that's a surefire way. Oh man. Daryl says I'm looking at upgrading the Atom Stack X7 Pro. Was thinking about a Lasermatic MK2XW or something like the Atom Stack A40 Pro version 2 with air assist and extension. What are your thoughts? Or something else? Uh, Either one of those two, depending on whether you want to build an enclosure or you want it already enclosed, is going to be the biggest thing. I like the MK2s. Uh, there will be, like, anytime you get a machine that's pre-enclosed, you don't have the flexibility to make it do some stuff that you might want it to do. But as far as enclosed machines goes, I will say the MK2 is probably one of the better built ones that's on the market right now. But it too has its limits. So that's why, like, my enclosure is just a massive enclosure, and it was built specifically to perform tasks that I needed it to do. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're not going to get that functionality anyway. You might as well go with the MK2. So
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the biggest downfall on the Atom Stack series with the extension is you're pretty much limited to building your own enclosure.
yeah,
I on a couple of these, I'll ask them. I'm like, hey, what's your recommendation for an enclosure for these? They're like, well, we don't really have one. So I'm
yeah,
like, I mean, you pretty much got to have one. So if you're handy with building one and you want to be able to have some flexibility there, that is great. But if you want it kind of just out of the box working and safe, hard to beat that. That full enclosure of the Lasermatic XW. So either one will be fine. But yeah, you're going to either be building and then making sure you build in all your expandability in the one, or you might have some limitations, both in height and whatnot with the pre-built one. They're a little harder to modify when they're all pre-done.
yeah. Well, Brian, that little attic crawl space thing up there is slap full of boxes, except for where the cats sleep. Like, there's boxes all the way from that floor all the way to the ceiling. So, and I need more room. I need a bigger shop, but it's going to be a little while.
I
Wait
think
a
we
minute.
clicked on two different ones here.
Yeah,
So yeah, I have this Cheaty Max whatever thing, and it's performance wise, it seems to work about the same as the P1. But I think the slicer with the bamboo is miles ahead as far as ease of use. I
yeah,
can do a lot with the slicer on this one as well, but because it's actually built on the Prusa one. But I think as from a beginner friendly standpoint, I'd still give the nod to bamboo.
yeah. Yes, I do actually do quite a bit on my CNC. I'm not running it today, of course. I don't run it during the lives because well, it's just distracting and noisy. But yeah, I typically run it every week a little bit. Now I don't use it like as much as I do the lasers because I haven't been in the CNC game that long. So my customer base for CNC products is not as big as the laser products. But I've actually got another CNC in the shop that I've been running this past week that I can't show you guys. Uh, but I've been playing with it and running it a little bit. It's a smaller CNC, but thanks to my buddy Cody, I do have an 1/8 inch mini Jenny that I've been running, and I've been having some fun with it. So, but yeah, I run it pretty regular. Matter of fact, if you notice that little honeycomb shaped wall just keeps getting bigger and bigger, because when I hadn't got anything else going on, I recycle scrap from stove covers and cut those little shapes out and put them up there. I even gave Steve his very own little square right there. That's not a square, I know, but I gave him his own very own little tile right there so that he can quit sticking stickers all over the place.
So what's the R value of those honeycomb pieces?
I figure it's at least 3.
So you're just gonna get the whole place wrapped.
Yeah. I mean, I figure, hey, which the bad thing is though, that side of the shop, the dirt is actually like there's just enough room to drive the tractor down through there, but the dirt actually comes up to about right there on the outside. So that side doesn't get any sun. It doesn't get any. So that is the one place I probably didn't need extra insulation, but I got it because it's 3/4 inch pine over top of the 3/4 inch pine wall boards on top of the insulation. So yeah, we'll see. I can't tell y'all that. Oh,
Yeah.
did we click the same one? I can't tell
Nope.
you. What part of it's a secret? I can't tell you. Bill.
So, um, yeah. The only thing I'm going to say here is I hope my youngest doesn't stay until he's 30.
Hey, I got
I
one that's
might
23.
move out. I might move out on my kid by then.
I got one that's 23. So, and I ain't trying to run anybody off. I'll build me another shop eventually. But guys, y'all know I've been trying. I had a little dilemma when I got into law enforcement. I worked for the city of Montgomery, which is, of course, the capital of Alabama for any of those that paid attention in geography. Uh, and so I worked in Montgomery for like 2.5 years. Well, it was a big enough city that they had their own retirement, they had their own everything. So when I left the city of Montgomery and came back home to my home county, all those 2.5 years of retirement that I had there were just gone, basically. Uh, and they gave me a little check, which wasn't much, and I paid it towards some bills, and went on about my merry way. Well, a few years ago, Montgomery joined the state retirement system, which meant that my time I spent there was now eligible to count towards my retirement. So I have been scraping and rat holing and scraping and rat holing to buy that time back. And last week, I wrote the very last check that I will have to write to the state to get those 2.5 years back. So I am officially done with that. And I've got some other stuff that I want to try to get done. And I'm hoping that by the time I get ready to retire, I can take and focus some funds on building me a slightly larger shop with maybe actually, and I know this comes as a shock, but maybe actually get one built that we actually plan it to be a shop and not just a pole barn. That's the plan. That's the hope. So
Well, I'll have to move if I plan on expanding my shop, or I got to kick people out of other rooms. And I'm afraid that it's more of Carla that's going to kick me out of certain rooms because she's got her hobbies too. So yeah, no bigger shop for me without moving.
yeah. Yes, sir, Michael. Mr. Fulmer actually attended my graduation from the police academy with his dual 45 Colt pistols. That was back in the day. I graduated in March the 6th of 1990. No, March the 6th of 2000 is when I graduated the academy. And the reason I know that is I actually graduated the academy on my dad's birthday. And the serial number of my very first issued sidearm was my birthday. So it was a whole bunch of weird birthday stuff went on down there.
Hmm. Dennis says he's getting ready to order a set of Jenny bits from Cody and thinks that they are best. I'm sure there are some. I mean, I know there are some bits he doesn't make, and there are probably some bits that perform just as well or maybe a bit better. But you're not going to find a better guy that's helping support makers like you and I both from small hobbyists on up to, some pretty big guys. Cody is just awesome at supporting this community, and he also makes some pretty great bits. And so, yeah, I support him 100% in trying to make sure he stays in business because A, his bits are great. B, he's a great guy. So that great family man that's helping out a lot of people like you and I and others. So I appreciate
Yep.
that you're sending him some business, and we, he just continues to innovate. I've been talking with him on another project as well that he's helping out with. So yeah, any time we can support him, happy to do it.
Yeah. And one thing too, to be clear here, Cody he doesn't pay us or me or Steve or anybody, or neither one of us get paid by Cody for advertising his bits. I do it because I like the guy. I've met him face to face, and like Steve said, he's an honest guy that's just like the rest of us that started off in his garage doing what he enjoyed, and it just escalated to the point where now he's making his own line of bits. Uh, I I enjoy it. There's been times where Cody didn't even. I guess he would eventually realize it was me if he was the one fulfilling the order. But I'll go in there and order my bits, and I pay for them. Now he did replace one that I broke, which was completely my fault, but he replaced it for me when I ordered my next order, and I appreciate that, Cody. But he, it's if you're gonna buy bits from somebody, why not be a guy that and that you appreciate, and that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Mm-hmm.
So and so far they do work really well. So
Yeah.
if they didn't, I probably wouldn't keep buying them. Like I said, they will snap though if you forget to turn your spindle on. Especially if it's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
especially if it's the 1/4 inch to 1/8 bit, it snaps
Yeah.
really easy if you forget to turn your
Yeah.
spindle on.
Well, like we talked about earlier, that's just part of the nature of learning CNCs. It's when you make a
Well,
silly little mistake like that, it can get expensive in a hurry. So
yeah.
there's a little bit more of a learning curve on it, but yeah, it's that. And some people would argue, then, well, that's why I'll use cheap bits, and I'm like, okay, but you sometimes learn bad habits with bad tools, and so while
Well,
there
I
are
can
some
tell
cheap
you.
bits that are decent, um, it's also it's nice to know that it's not the tool you're fighting.
Yeah, well, I told Cody the other day he needs to come out with for the guys that have the hobby machines like I started with, the 4040 and the 6050s
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I told him the other day he should come out with like a eighth inch bit kit with like a flat end mill, like a genie, the little miniature genie, a down cut. Maybe come up with like a little small 1/8 inch ball nose for doing 3D stuff, and of course a zero flute 1/8 inch, and just pack that thing up as a kit, and that's your one stop shop for the small 1/8 inch bit CNCs. Because I'm testing a machine, I used the bits that came with it. I got irritated. I broke out the Jenny bits, and I was no longer irritated. So there's a market for that, and I
Yeah.
know with him, the production cost, the little bitty blank, the small bit, then shipping and all that. But I think if he does, because he's already got a couple of 1/8 inch bits, and they work really nice.
Hmm.
So I think that as he grows, I know he's growing into the bigger bits, the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch bits. So I think it's just a matter of time before it's
I,
naturally going to go down to the smaller ones
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I could see that, but even so, knowing which one you're using and knowing its capabilities of swapping out the collet, I think you'd be okay using the tapered ball nose that he already has, because those tend to not the way you use them, they tend to not put
Yeah, it's not going to be too
uh,
much pressure on the machine.
as much of a stress. Now you're not going to want to
Yeah,
chuck up a 1/4 inch end mill and take a 3/4 inch pass with that one
yeah,
per se, but yeah,
yeah.
having a nice starter set like that, because as you just said, you were frustrated with the stock bits, swap out for the Jenny, and that's my point. If you have have tooling that is working right, then
Yeah.
you're not as frustrated. I mean, because
Oh,
I've
I was
seen that.
actually impressed with the speeds and feeds that I was able to get out of that bit in that machine. I was
Mhm.
like, okay, this is doable. I mean, even for a budget friendly machine, I got some really good results, and I'd really love to show you guys, but it's going to be about another 2 weeks before I can.
Yep. Yep. So, so yeah, cool stuff. You'll enjoy them. And I think this, yeah, next month and in this fall, hopefully you'll be seeing more CNC content from both of us.
Yep.
Steve, another good name, by the way, since you like to point that out. Will raising the focus on a diode laser cut a wire cut? Yes, but you're going to reduce the effectiveness of the cut. So, the focus of a laser beam comes in and then back out of focus. It's kind of an hourglass shape. So if you raise up your focus, you're going to be getting in back into that more wider beam, but it's also going to be less focused. It's going to have less cutting ability. So while it will be a little bit wider, you might not actually get through as well, if at all. So if you're wanting a wider cut,
lowering it would also make a wider cut but still maintain penetration.
Not really. It'd have the same effect. You'd get the air focus on it, but I mean, you're still spreading out the beam.
No, as they say, if I'm cutting something that's ridiculously too thick, I put the focus. I focus on the center of the material, which means if I'm cutting 8 millimeters thick, I'll drop my focus 4 millimeters. Now, some machines you can't because the cone will hit.
Right, but I think because I saw his comment come by earlier and then I missed it. What he was asking earlier was something about cutting out puzzle pieces and wanting a wider cut, not necessarily deeper, but wider line. And so while lowering it would widen the curve and widen that line, it's going to lowering or raising it. You're going to move that focus point to where it's going to put a wider effect on it. But you're going to have you're going to end up with less power focused in the same spot. And so you might need to make extra passes and it still get through. If it's 3 millimeter material, depending on your laser, yeah, you may still have the power to get through it. For cutting out puzzle pieces, that's a balance. I mean, you don't want them so tight that you can't put them together and take them back apart. So defocusing it just a little bit will probably help that on just 3 millimeter material. But honestly, I've done the puzzle generators where it just cuts the line, and usually that curve of 0.1 millimeters is enough wiggle room that when it's on both pieces, they're not a snug fit. I'm usually having to add in that curve to make a tight fit. So
it's a worst case. I guess you could add some negative kerf offset to it.
You could, but if you're trying to cut, I guess it depends on if you're trying to cut the puzzle. Like if you have a printed thing and you're trying to cut out the puzzle, you're not a negative kerf isn't going to help on a line because it's cutting in between the two parts. Whereas if you're cutting individual pieces,
I was thinking individual pieces, cutting them out. If you're cutting them individually, I would think, like I said, a little bit of negative kerf would give you a gap. But
yes, in effect, it will leave a wider cut depending on your material. You just might have a harder time getting through the cut. So hopefully that helps you. But I did a video, gosh, about a year and a half ago on creating puzzles, and then there was a puzzle generator creates the SVG, and those pieces on 3 millimeter Baltic birch cut out fine with just the line. It was the whole puzzle cut on one piece of wood, and it worked well. But that is automatically leaving that curve there. Okay, so if you're doing individual pieces, then yeah, play with your curve setting. Add, like Clack said, add just a 0.05 negative curve. I think 0.1, which we'd normally do, might be a bit much, but yeah, play with the negative curve on that, and you'll probably find that it adds. It's gonna bring that line in just a little bit and leave you a little bit. Let me see if I can find. You want the Michael? Are you wanting the link to the puzzle generator or my video on that? Because I can dig up either.
I was wondering what kind of laser he was using, if it was cutting them out all at one time to be that tight. Because I was like, man, that must be like
that'd be a nice laser, yeah.
or maybe one of the really high end CO2s or something. Because typically, like I said, if you just cut them out on like the A70 or the A40, you're gonna have plenty of gap, if not too much.
Mm-hmm.
I say that my 40's pretty tight cutting. I think 40 watts is about like it's is about as high as I want to go for like cutting boxes and stuff a lot. But the 70 does a good job, but it is, you can tell when you start snapping them together, even with the same settings, that it does cut a wider curve through there.
Wow, this is a 2-year-old video.
Mm-hmm. You might need to redo that.
Maybe. Bum, bum, bum. Here.
It might be time for a fresh look at that one.
All right. Let's see if I can do this without breaking the software. You know how this can go.
You're fixing to lose your comments at least.
All right. And I will I'll drop this directly into my channel as well, because I know that's one thing about the software. It doesn't post our comments through the software out to both channels. So that's my puzzle making video, and in there is a link to a puzzle generator. It's free. Hopefully it still exists. I should check that link. Yes. Where you can set in the size of the puzzle, and then like you can play around with all that, and then it just downloads an SVG in multicolors, which is great because it'll do the lines and layers. It's worked out pretty well, and it's free. You don't have to pay someone for it. Free is great and awesome.
Yep. All right, I really wish Xtool would do a better job of explaining to people about this canvas button.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of Xtool, I got something in the mail.
Did you get you a crafter special? I can't see it right now. I'm looking at. I'm trying to show somebody something. I'm getting messages about, hey, I bought this file, but this isn't in there, and I'm like,
well,
yes, it is.
Tell them to join the live, and we can answer it on. No, we talked about this a couple weeks ago about their, what is it, the M1 Ultra. So one of their earlier lasers was the M1, which was a 10-watt diode laser, enclosed diode laser that also had a knife cutter on it for doing like vinyl and such. And so they reached out to me saying, hey, we've got this new multifunction laser coming out. Would you be interested? And I told them this too. I said, I'm generally not a fan of multifunction machines, but I was intrigued by the way they've got the module on it. I think it's similar to the S1, but a little bit different and hopefully a little bit better. And so it combines a 20 and or 40 watt. No, I think they have multiple. So I don't know what wattage laser it is. I haven't cracked that part open yet, but it's got the laser. It's got a drag knife. It's got a roller knife for cutting thicker, like fabric and such. It's got a thicker cutter for like leather. It's got an embossing tool for like foil embossing or paper embossing. It's got a pen tool, so you could put an industrial Sharpie in it, or their included markers. And it even has an inkjet module on it. So I was like, okay, this is trying to be a jack of all trades. So I said, yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to play with that, because I have done some, shirt silkscreen printing, and with it also, I don't know if that's 100% with it or they sell it separately, but with it they have a larger heat press along with this mini heat press. And I have been doing some DTF transfers for some people with their shirts. I did that in my I did the custom clothing video a couple months ago for the pork farmer. So it's not my normal cup of tea, both in a multifunction machine, but also this is definitely geared towards replacing a Cricut and in the crafting market. Like we talked about, this would be right up May's alley and her
yes, she might try to steal that from
followers.
You. She
might
try to steal that from you.
So yeah, it's that actually did show up. So it's not going to be I'm gonna try to get some stuff out on it. Wasn't expecting it to come right now. They kind of just dropped it on me. So I've got a few other things in the works, but I'll be getting that unboxed, set up somewhere, and start playing with it, and we'll see how it is. I'm really kind of curious. Speaking of puzzles, and this is why it made me think of it. Um, you should be able to print out something on wood and then use the laser cut it out. So it'd be very interesting to see making a puzzle that way. Um, I mean, in my video, I show engraving an item, and you could engrave a picture, but it's basically black and white. Well, now you've got color, or those like the kids' names pieces or whatnot that they place in. You know, it might be an interesting way to make those with a little more color and pop. So we'll see how it goes. Like I say, I'm not always a fan of a machine that tries to be too many things. So we'll see how it functions at each of these, but it'll be kind of interesting. I think definitely be something different.
Yeah, they haven't. I haven't heard from them on that thing, so it's kind of busy right now. So I really, to be honest with you, I don't really want to hear from them on it right now.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this quite a lot, but I've uh, between the number of things I haven't gotten done and just my day job has kept me plenty busy. They're you know, my projects. There's a honeydew list of things that we haven't gotten to. So yeah, I need to. I can't take all the stuff that people want me to try to promote for them. It's got to be different. It's got to be interesting for the channel.
Yeah, Brian's saying it's a 10 watt right now. So
I
don't know.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, they've been talking about a few different ones. I'd have to dig up the email about what all the modules they were recommending for it, but
yeah, Robbie was one of my apparently he was one of the folks that didn't know about canvases, and I really wish they would. That button, it just looks so like it just blends into the background. It doesn't look like a button. They should really like make that to where you can tell that when you click it, something's going to happen, because it looks like it's just a tab, like a name tab. Oh, but I bet I get 50 messages a week about, hey, I bought this file, but there's only one file in it. And I'm like, oh no, there's 9 canvases. No, this is all I got. And I'm like, so I've got this image that I've had to make, and I have to send it to people that basically shows this. It's a big arrow pointing to the tab so that they know, click there. But it's just that button is just so inconspicuous that nobody pays it any attention. Where'd Steve go? Steve, where'd you go?
I'm hiding in the corner.
Oh,
I was just making sure they could see your screen.
Little Steve. But if you don't know, in XCS, like I said, that little inconspicuous button is the canvas, which is cool because you can actually have like 9 projects going with only one machine, and you can switch between them. It's really cool, but it does confuse a lot of people. So they just need to do better about marking that. As we create to be a good laser for a guy in a wheelchair, I have watched a lot of videos, the Clack Shack and other sites. I mean, it does get taller. It does get taller, so you're going to want to, like, especially if you have limited, ability to stand up and sit down. That's going to make it a little challenging because it actually does this.
Yeah, that and the fact that for maintenance, you basically have to tip it up on sides to even just clean the lens. That is something
like this would be like easier.
Yeah.
Because you can get in and out of this, like even if I don't get out of my roll around chair, I can do anything I need to do to this.
Mm-hmm.
So we create, you kind of got to go over inside the hole. So if I was limited to a chair, something like this would be more.
Although that one too, getting the module off, it's going to be easier on that one.
As long as your arms are long enough, it shouldn't be a big issue.
Felt like that one had some extra screws, but no, the the Lasermatic definitely is going to be easier to get things in and out of it. It's going to be easier to see into it from a sitting level and such. You could put the weak rate down lower, but like you say, you can only see it into the top. And anytime you got to clean the module on it or really get into anything, it's more involved to get into and maintain
Yeah.
that one. So
Yeah, I would say I would have to go with like this guy because you could literally, if you wanted to, if your table was lower, like if you had one of these little desks right here that you can crank up and down, you could actually lower it down to where you could get it at like shoulder height, and that would make it to where you could reach further. Which mine basically is at shoulder height, so I can like reach all the way to the back. So yeah, that I would probably avoid the We Create if because that thing does, you have to kind of lean over and look down inside it, and it does get taller and shorter. And yeah, I don't, this doesn't seem like it would be a very good fit for that situation. And
mhm.
I kind of understand that process too, because when I was going through my back troubles, there was several weeks that I sat in here just sliding around in this chair because I couldn't really get on my feet. And that's when you realize too that some of these enclosures I built with these big heavy doors aren't ideal when you can't, you know, like lift a lot of weight over your head, because at the time I was pretty much limited to this guy. And because I could actually just kind of slide over here underneath it, reach inside, do what I need to do, and then lower the thing back down. So,
Yeah, and on of course, my first laser with the CO2 had those gas assist lift on the on the whole thing. That was pretty easy, you know.
yeah, burn print, carve print. I actually put it in the description, like with big stars around it and everything. I've put README files in there. People don't read them, so I'm gonna just deal with it. I just wish Xtool would like make that button more pronounced so that you would know.
I mean, I've had people buy digital files and they contact me a week later saying, "Why haven't you shipped this to me?"
Hmm.
I'm like, it's a digital file. You already have it. They're like, well, I thought you were going to send me the actual thing. I'm like,
Yeah. Oh, I get a
hmm.
lot of those. Hey, Lightburn will not open this .zip file.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but they're at least expecting it to be a digital thing, not a. I, I mean, a friend of mine sells a table plan. Build your own table, and I think he charges like $10 for it. And of course, he's got some really nice pictures of this walnut table that he built with it. And then he's had a couple people ask him like, "Well, why aren't you going to ship this to me yet?" And he's like, "You really think you're getting a custom hardwood walnut table for $10?" So, hmm, yeah, people don't always read. But um, I was trying to think. Tripod's Garage, as far as you're looking for accessible things, he might be a good one to check out as far as uh, equipment that's good or bad when you have a bit of a disability, because he's as his name of his channel states, he's missing a leg and is sometimes around in a chair, whether it's a wheelchair or an office chair and such. So um, he sometimes speaks to that when machines are a little more difficult to work with in his videos as well. So that'd be
Yeah.
another thing to check out if you're looking at a laser, and he might have some information on it on his channel. Just another source to get some ideas on.
Yeah. And that would be, like I said, with tables and everything, that would be a consideration too, would be, being able to slide under it. Because like I said, back when I was having my back issues and my mobility went to crap, uh, there were some things in here that I realized I was like, this works. When I was able to move up and down and move around, but like this machine, it's kind of hard because it's up so high that I have to, to reach in
Mhm.
there. So yeah. Uh, my chair does raise up. So Ricky's got a bit of an advantage, I guess, if his chair will actually raise and lower. That would give him a little bit of, a little more functionality out of it. But like I said, I think this one would be a good fit because of the way it's built, the way you can you can get to everything. So so that would probably be where I would start looking is either the Rolly or something similar. It doesn't necessarily have to be it, but there's some other machines on the market that are similar as well that would probably
Mhm.
work. So
Yeah, Dave, FlexiSpot does make. They actually have a new one that has, I think, the dual post legs at each side. I think it's rated up to 540 pounds. Um, and I've been very tempted to pick up some of those for both. I mean, just a straight up desk, be able to do a sit stand desk, but also as kind of more of a workshop desk. I know some people who have actually built um, kind of adjustable woodworking tables and assembly tables or workshop tables using those legs for more of an accessibility thing. So um, yeah, it's a company that has been around a bit, and I've seen multiple people endorse them. So that's a good option to add some flexibility to be able to raise and lower equipment in situations like this, whether it's just for whether you need it for an accessibility kind of thing, or even just for the rest of us that don't want to hurt our
right.
backs as much.
Yeah, this one I got at Lowe's, and it's got this little handle that you can crank it,
Hmm.
but it's not easy. Matter of fact,
Yeah, no, the
I got a really good deal on that one because when I bought it, the handle wouldn't it didn't work, and they sold it to me for half price. I brought it home and found that somebody had failed to connect a linkage underneath it.
yeah, no, the nice one with the flex spots is those are those the electric lifting ones, and you can pre-program in a few preset spots or manually adjust it. They're pretty nice, but I mean, you pay a little bit for them, but you know that's sometimes you get a good deal, but a lot of times you get what you pay for. So
Yeah.
yeah, I that's how I would buy it. I would definitely be working with either some of the slabs I've got or talking to my friends and picking out a couple of nice ones to put on it.
Yeah. Well, if anybody hadn't already checked it out, be sure to check out the laser engraving community page. There should be links in the description as well as the map for the viewers so that everybody can kind of get an idea of where everybody's located. And I will be doing some traveling next week. So if anybody's in the south, very far south end of Alabama, I may be in your neck of the woods. Or I know I will be for a few days. And matter of fact, next week's live show, I will probably be doing it remote. I probably won't be here in the shop. So
Oh,
hopefully
really?
the internet connection and all that'll work for me so that we can have a successful
I
live.
tell you, if I was the resort technically that they had us in. I think that was a bit of a stretch of the term, but the place they had us stayed in had I apparently it was the room and the floor I was on. I connected to the internet. It would start to load a page and go, nope, sorry. Even hotspotting my phone was difficult. As far as I mean, I could get content through my phone, but if I had tried to live stream from there, would have been pretty bad. As a matter of fact, I think I had better internet out at the state park campground than at that hotel. So yeah, hopefully you get decent internet. I'll better make
Yeah,
sure I got some buttons ready and
yeah. I mean, make sure you've got extra content just in case I don't make it.
yeah.
But like I said, as long as the last time I was down there, I had enough cell service that I could pull it off with my laptop. So we're gonna see. I think that'll be the case this go around too. So shouldn't be shouldn't be too much trouble.
I'll have to get a second camera and have a clack on the stick over there.
You never know. You never know. But but yeah. And
It's
so if
either that or I'm in.
anybody's near Orange Beach, Alabama, and y'all want to like I don't know maybe one night like try to go have a sandwich or a drink or something, holler at me because I'll be down there, and I'm always into meeting some of you guys face to face. anytime I go to like your neck of the woods or whatever. So if that's the case, shoot me an email, let me know, or message me on my Facebook page, and Mike could do that while we're down there. I'll be down there uh, most of the week, so
Cool.
go grab some wings, chicken wings or something. Or I don't know if I can find livers down there. I don't know where to find them at.
Another one of those places that's smart and doesn't offer them as much.
I'm sure there's a spot down there somewhere, but Jack, once I get retired, brother, once I get retired, I will probably be able to do a little more going and coming. Uh, Mostly during the summer because I still do have a kid that's going to be in school for a year or two after I retire. But during the summer, I'll be able to do a little more traveling. I'm going to have to go see Steve like the first summer after I retire. I'm going to go see Steve if I can.
Yeah, so my house will be on the market in about 13 months.
I can find you. Don't worry. I can
uh
find you, bro.
yeah, no, we'll see. Cody is down there in Arizona and he's actually only just over an hour away from my dad. I may have to I've been so busy this summer. I've taken only a few actual days off. So I may need to burn some more vacation time, and I might just have to see if I can swing down and visit my dad for a while and go swing by Cody's shop as well.
Yeah. With black acrylic, typically, yes, you can find that sweet spot to make the text gray or white, but it's going to require some testing and it's highly dependent on a lot of things. Matter of fact, let me grab a test grid. So this is not some of the best results I've ever got, but yeah. So that's black acrylic. Uh, you can also get it to where the speed and power is just enough to turn the surface white. And I know Steve and I think both of us have used it in videos before. You may actually have a more recent one than I have, but
Um, Trying to think. I know I've
but
been playing
yeah,
around with acrylic on a few of them, but
but yeah, it takes some testing though.
here we go. We got your stand in case you can't make it next week.
Yeah, okay. I hear you. I hear you.
That's quite the laugh. I
Hey,
mean, come on, man.
he's trying to come over here and steal my shop. I know what he's trying to do.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe he just snuck a he can green screen the
Oh no,
background and
no, he's I know what he's after. It's right around that corner right there. And then there's another one right over this way.
mm,
I know what he's after.
gotcha. Gotcha.
Cody said he'd love to have you stop by.
If I make it down that way, I'll definitely give you some heads up. We'll uh we'll try to make something happen if I get down there. Like I say, it's been well, I guess my family and I went down there. Well, it's been almost 5 years now. 2019. I used to get down there like
Mm,
once, almost twice a year before we had kids. Now it's far few and often that I get down there to see them. But yeah, I got to do that more.
cool. Well, Jimmy, we appreciate it, sir. Without you guys, we wouldn't be doing it because it'd just be me and Steve basically in a Zoom call. But which I'm not saying we don't do that occasionally anyway. But yeah, it makes it fun being able to interact with you guys. And like I
Yeah,
said, I know we partnered up. This is what is this episode like because I actually did the math because I was trying to figure out exactly how many we had done. I think this is our 58th consecutive Sunday Night Live since we first started these things back in December of 2022 was the very first one we did. Uh,
it's got to be more than that.
hang
It's
on, let me
52
check.
weeks in a year.
Oh, hang on. No, no, episode 65. Hang on. I can't, numbers ain't my thing. Hush.
Yeah,
Give me a
I was
minute.
gonna say.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
I
Let's see.
mean, as we get closer to December, we got to be ramping up towards 100.
Uh,
We'll have to do the math.
See, that
Maybe
was
do something
episode
big for 100.
65 back in March. Hang on. Why is it not showing me? Oh, come on. Google done got the bugs. Episode 85. My bad.
Wow, we're already on
Yeah.
85.
Yes. And trust me, I went through there on each one of my videos, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, and put it the first line of the description. So, and I
Mm.
actually messed up and like counted one twice. And so I had to go back and do half of them twice. But yeah, this is episode 85. So that's 85 consecutive Sundays that we haven't even missed a show. So somebody was talking about the dedication of doing it while I was out of town, but yeah, me and Steve both. Now there's been a couple of them that Steve wasn't here because of lack of internet and stuff like that, and it could happen to me as well. But I'll at least
Well,
be in the comments section,
yeah,
even if I can't stream. So
I know the one I missed last year was one or maybe two. I was on the road and just couldn't connect, but I tried to pop into the comments like you said. The one time I was it was last year June. I was literally walking around Mount Rushmore, had you kind of
yeah,
on the stream in the pocket, and I
it's,
was trying to share. Yeah, I was trying to
it's
share photos and whatnot. So yeah, it was there was that one, and so I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure there was maybe one or two where maybe I was just in a spot where I couldn't do it, um, but yeah, I mean, if you absolutely can't, we'll see. Maybe we can pull a guest in for
yeah.
to help cover or something, but we'll do it
No,
either way.
actually, Steve says so. You have no life. No, actually, I do have a life, and this is a like this is I enjoy this. This is not something I do because of the live show is not something I make a bunch of money off of, or I enjoy it, and that's why I do it. And it's my hobby. It's kind of like I'm pretty sure there's probably some guys out there that have this football team or baseball team that they've never missed a game. I don't watch sports. I don't watch. I don't watch TV. Like at night when I lay down to go to sleep, my wife puts a documentary on, and we go to sleep to a documentary. But I don't watch TV. I don't. I have this is a culmination of my hobbies right here. I could care less whether Alabama or Auburn wins. I can't tell you the last time I watched a football game, baseball game, soccer, or anything. This is my
Yeah.
thing. This is what I do.
Yep.
And so yeah, I mean, outside of working and this and my family stuff, yeah, it's really about all I have going on. I mean, I do take time to, do other stuff, but yeah, Sunday nights is usually kids going to school the next morning. Got to go back to work next day. It's not like I'm out, I don't party. I don't go out drinking or anything like that. So I'm always at home on Sunday nights.
Yeah. It's it's kind of funny. Your introverted versus extroverted levels. It depends on the context. So it could
Yeah.
be a work thing, it could be a personal thing, and whatnot. Um, uh, and it's kind of funny. I did my camping trip solo, which I don't do a lot of those solo. I grew up always going camping with my dad. I've taken the kids camping quite a bit. Carl and I did that before kids as well as since having kids and such. This is the first time I've gone camping by myself, solely by myself. And after doing some of the laser stuff and whatnot, and I didn't want to be too disruptive. And even though I had tested it and you really couldn't hear it from the other sites, it was somewhat secluded. Kind of wrapped up down and had thrown a little too much wood on the fire. And I'm looking at it going, okay, now I'm bored because there's no one here. It's just me and this campfire. And yeah, I was like, this would have been a great distraction then too. But no,
Yeah.
it's fun to just get on and chat with you, but also really, like you say, interact with everybody else, answer some questions, have some back and forth. Hopefully, be inspiring a project or help decide you know, is this the right tool for me? I mean, it's kind of what we do on our videos, but we get that instant, you know, back and forth feedback, and
Yeah.
it's enjoyable. So yeah, um, it'll be fun, and it sounds like Platypus Platypus Unum did the math, and episode 100 would be right around November 3rd.
Yeah.
So
That sounds about right because it'll
yeah,
be December. The first week of December should be about 104.
yeah.
So yeah, it was
So
because it was the first one we did was either on a December 3rd or December 4th, and then the 1 year
mhm,
anniversary was 3rd or 4th. Uh,
yep.
but yeah, but now I do like I said I do hunt some. I haven't since I started doing the shack thing though. Because guys, here's the thing: I don't like cold, and I don't like getting up early. So I'm just not a real good hunter. I'm an
Well, it's a good
afternoon
thing it
hunter
doesn't get
at
cold down
best.
there.
Yeah, and that's why I'm going to come visit you in the summer. But I don't like being cold, and I'm part of my disorder that I have is when I do go hunting is I'm sitting there and I'm not seeing anything and I'm like, you know what? I could have already made so much stuff. I could have been researching this. I could have been doing that. And then I'm like, well, you know what? I can do it on my phone. And so then I start looking at stuff on my phone and then all of a sudden it's like you hear and you look down and there's a deer looking at you and it runs off. And you're like, well, crap. You know, I should have been paying attention to that, but I was too busy
Yeah,
researching, you know?
yeah.
So I enjoy hunting, but
See, that's
it, it's just not, I mean, because I don't shoot that
I
much. I do a lot of looking and taking pictures. I don't do a whole lot of
yeah,
shooting
yeah.
because shooting a deer that doesn't know you're there is really, really easy when you've trained and done the things that I've done. So it's like, unless it's just a massive deer and I need meat for the freezer, I'm not shooting it. So
Well, and I've gone hunting with friends, and yeah, I've been there where the two of us were in the tree. It was kind of an elevated deer stand, and then we had one other guy kind of circling around for a bit to try to drive him out. I almost fell asleep waiting until my friend took a shot. Um,
that'll wake you up.
yeah, well, because we were doing black powder, so it's got a little extra. Um, it, my thing with it is that if I go, I want to go with people because I'm not into deer meat as much. I would rather have like, you know, pheasant or something like that. It's just kind of gamey. You know, and then it's like, okay, you can make it in sausage, mix it in with some ham or whatever. It just, no thanks. I'd rather do fishing because it's easier with people. Again, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna eat as
And
much of the fish.
you don't have to be as quiet.
Yeah, because you can be out there, you can have a good time, you can be talking a little bit, you know, you're not going to be whooping it up too
Yeah.
much because you'll still scare the fish a little bit. But you could, you know, for me, it's a social thing. You know, I'm hanging out with some friends, having a good time, and someone else takes the stuff home and they process it and they enjoy it. You know, because yeah, it's not a it in most areas it's going to cost you more to get the gear, get the license, get the tag, all this stuff than going and just buying the meat. So it's not a
Yeah.
affordability of putting food in the freezer, but
Well,
you know, it's a
here
byproduct of.
it's yeah, here you can actually get a lot of meat because hunting license here isn't that expensive, and you don't gotta have tags or anything like that. When you buy
Well,
your
if you're going to
license,
process it yourself, maybe.
yeah,
But
well,
by
you
the time
can't
you
really.
process the meat,
Nobody
it's
nobody around here processes them anymore since that whole
yeah.
wasting
Mm,
stuff started going around. But uh, but yeah, it's like I said, I enjoy it, but I spend more time taking cool pictures because
yeah.
I love to take my camera with my big lens and catch them like early in the morning, the sun's because my artistic side shows and I start taking pictures. And
Hmm.
I have a scope that I can video record everything through the scope and all that, and I enjoy that part. But I just don't shoot that many because, like I said, I'm the only person in my house that eats a lot of it. My wife will she'll cook some of it, and the kids will sometimes eat it. But it's just there's not a really high demand for it. Uh, but now the fishing, oh, I love me some fishing. And up until recently, didn't have a boat because I sold it a few years ago. Though that was actually the reason the shack was built was because my boat used to sit over there when it was a pole barn, and then my tractor sat right here. So I got rid of the boat because back then I was working 3 jobs. Like usually 60 to 80 hours a week. I never went, and I was like, it's just taking up space. Let me get rid of it. But I got me one now, and I'm gonna make it a point to use that thing at least a couple times a month because I really do enjoy fishing. So next time you come
Yeah.
down, we'll take you and let you do some fishing.
Well, you'll have to give me the rental gear because my
I
my
got some.
my fishing gear is so outdated that it's pretty pathetic. I'm not even sure half of it would work
Oh, I had to
anymore. But
reline all my rods because they had been underneath that
yeah,
see that floor right there. I've got
yeah,
strips, and they had been up underneath there for so long. Dude, I had to take them outside and hose them down. They had dust all
yeah.
over them and all that. But
Yep.
Samuel says
Yeah.
he has no room in his freezer. Had a whole cow and one pig in the other.
I was gonna say I'm in the same boat. Last fall I did a video on customizing some acacia boards for both the pork farmer and the beef farmer that I work with, and yeah, I just picked up my van load of beef from the processor, and luckily the pork farmer I work with he does we kind of it's a mutually beneficial situation. He's got some customers that are super picky. Like they want their chops to be the same thickness, the same cut, the same weight. And I'm like, I don't care. It goes on the grill all the same. So he makes me a good deal. Basically, he gives me the whole pork, the whole hog price a la carte. So he provides me with so much every month. I'm paying him so much every month for the pork. And I said, I don't care. You got the picky customers, let them have that. Just give me them in roughly this size between these weights. I'm good. So yeah, and they're both local. They're local farmers for me, and I always appreciate that.
Yeah, we just placed an order the other day because we ran out to get another quarter cow. We usually just get it a quarter at a time with some friends of ours over at Calfee Cattle. They do it, and a quarter will last us a pretty good while. So, whew. And I just had to
I
buy
got
a bigger freezer, so I got plenty of room. But
sweet.
burn carve Pritt, I've actually got a Tacticam adapter for my sniper rifle or my hunting rifle or whatever that I want to put it on. And I also on my AR actually have a night vision scope that has video recording capability. So so I do a lot of photographing and printing or photographing and stuff when I'm working with my rifles. But the Tacticam actually slides over the eyepiece, and it's got a little thing that adheres it, and it just uses a series of mirrors to where it records the video on this little camera, and it doesn't interfere with the operation of the scope. So it'll basically mount on any scope on the market, and it works with my tactical scope as well as my hunting scope, which are very similar.
Cool stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, if it weren't for YouTube's policies, I could show you guys about all that, but you know how that goes.
they like
They
to
might
they like to
label
clamp
me
down on it
as
every time.
they might label me as a some type of activist or something.
Well, more so they would just unmonetize your stuff and not show it to anyone. I mean, they'd say like, you're still out there. We're not blocking you. They're just not giving you any money or
We're just
promoting anything.
yeah, but
So
but I do have
yeah.
other outlets that I'm not monetized on that I really wouldn't care. So
Hmm.
if I ever decide to do that,
It's your OnlyFans page, huh?
no.
Hey,
I
it's
don't
for
have one of those.
anything. Doesn't have to be for the typical use of OnlyFans,
Mm,
or so they say.
I wouldn't even want to. I wouldn't even want to start one of those. That could you imagine? I mean, like I had a guy
Could you
earlier.
imagine your name showing up on a data breach for that?
Well, I had a guy earlier message me comment on my video, and no, just to make sure I don't get this wrong. Let me go to my comments here and make sure two of them, quite frankly, and I'm not sure. All right, yeah,
Oh, are these
I'm
going to be
not
one of
sure
my troll accounts?
exactly. Well, probably ironic to put the word peacemaker on an item that is used to harm people daily. Seriously? I mean, come on, guys. You don't even know me. But yeah, my response was basically, yeah, keep scrolling. And then, hard pass on the scripture. I hate it for you. Uh, I mean,
I, I,
I I don't know why people think that I really care about their opinion when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I, I mean, their mama must not ever told them if you ain't got nothing nice to say, keep your mouth shut. So, but have you ever hog hunted? Joel, I have. South of here, they're really bad. Like they destroy crops daily. But we had a hunting club that joined up against some farm property where they were a real bad problem, and I got to encounter several of them while in the woods. They usually come in like groups of 12.
hmm. Can't say we have those up here.
Supposed
We have
supposed to name
other
them.
things to worry about. So, funny thing, while camping, normally I see some form of wildlife. Um,
Did you see a Bigfoot?
well, just my video I posted about that. If you're following me on Instagram and Facebook,
Did you,
um, you did see that one, right? Yeah, you
yeah.
commented. Um,
Did you see the thumbnail
no,
for
no,
tonight's video?
no. I guess I didn't look too close. Should I? Oh, nice. Uh, yeah. Normally we'll see some form of wildlife. Nothing too dangerous, but generally more wild than typical. But this time there was literally a cat comes rocking into my campsite. Not a friendly or tame cat. Looks at me like, "What are you doing here?" And then kind of runs off into the wood wildly. And I could hear another cat out there. I said, "Well, I guess that's why I'm not seeing any wildlife." Those, I I
You
love my
found a
cats,
pack of
but
feral cats.
yeah, I mean, I love my cats, but they could do some damage to an ecosystem left unchecked out in the wild. So,
Yeah. Yeah, Mark. They down around the Alabama River, they've got a lot of them that are just kind of migrating up the river from down around the Gulf, and they're just heading further and further north. And the weird thing about it is up until recently, Alabama treated them like they were deer or something. Like you couldn't shoot them at night, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. And then after farms started getting destroyed and it started becoming an actual problem, they got a lot more lenient about now. You really ain't even got to pay to get a permit. You just call whoever your guy is, your game warden, and say, "Hey, I'm going to be over here at this place shooting hogs tonight." And you know, the permitting process has gotten a lot simpler because used to you had to apply and it took months to get your permits. And I haven't been involved in it, but I have heard a lot of folks saying that it's gotten easier now since they've been destroying, because down South Alabama, peanuts is a big thing, as well as what's that other soybeans?
pecans.
Yeah, soybeans.
Oh,
No,
soybeans. Okay.
peanuts and soybeans, and hogs come into a peanut or a soybean field. It don't take them long. They can do some damage. Because the thing about pigs is when they eat something, typically they pull it up before they eat it. It's not like cows or deer where they just chew the foliage.
Yeah, they chew it.
You know,
They chew it halfway down. Yeah.
yeah, pigs will snatch it up by the roots. So even they only eat a few leaves off of it, they're going to kill it. Because I know when we were growing up, that was about the only way you could kill kudzu on your property was pigs, because they would actually pull the root up out of the ground and eat the root.
Hmm.
But yeah, we don't have any right here where I live that often. Every now and then somebody will kill one in the area. There's a couple little pockets of them, but they're they're coming.
Yep. Well, we've gone 15 minutes over almost, so people are
Oh
needing to head
wow,
to bed. so,
yeah, yeah, including me.
so
Well,
we will. I guess we might. We'll hopefully see you next week, barring any internet issues. But I'll be here, and
yeah,
maybe I'll see if I can get a
well,
third chair here just in case. But
I was fixing to say, well, if you need me to, Bill's done said he'd stand in for me. I can get him lined up.
all right, we'll I'll send him the file where you can burn a clack head and you can just kind of hold it up there.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everything. I'm in the same. I'm gonna be in the same place I was last year, so it
Okay.
should it
Yeah,
should
that
work.
worked pretty well. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, hopefully not too busy of a week up here. I've got a few things that are on the verge of being done, so hopefully I can get those out. And like I said, teased, I got some more equipment here to play around with, but always appreciate everybody checking out the content. Always, of course, here in the lives, but also the interaction in the comment sections of the videos and such. And some of that's we talked about earlier. Inspiration. We pull a lot of. Sometimes there's always videos coming out of either the comment here or comment on a video or on the Facebook pages, and so we appreciate all the interaction across our mediums and such. So we'll see you there. Otherwise, we will see you next Sunday, and I'll let you wrap it up.
Yes, sir. Yeah, appreciate everybody. Like I said, finally made it to that 30,000. Uh, that's been a goal of mine for a while, and wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. So I appreciate that. For some of you that have watched or like to watch or may want to watch, like the bees and the other things that I do that aren't shop related, if you haven't heard yet, I did start another channel, and there should be links all over the place for it. And it's basically going to be my other hobbies that aren't in the shop. So if that's something that you want to look at, and Brandy's, we haven't done a lot with it this past week because it's been just a hectic week for both of us. But Brandy's going to be a little more involved in it and help me with content and stuff. So if you want to go check that out, I'd appreciate giving that one a subscribe because right now it is an infant. Like it's only been up for a couple of weeks. I've dropped a few shorts and everything, but it's not a lot there. It's only at like 375 subscribers. And so that's going to be like more of the, you guys talking about going hunting and fishing and all these things. That kind of stuff, as I move into retirement and do more of that kind of thing, that kind of stuff will be on that page rather than the shack. I'm going to try to keep this one just shop themed, shop and sawmill. That's what I'm going to try to keep here. So hopefully that thing will grow and we can have two outlets. And like I said, if I want to put a hunting video on the other one, I can, and it won't affect this one. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, till next time, guys, y'all be safe and have a good day.